Hey everybody, welcome to Do You Believe? And I am your host, Noreen. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now tonight I have a special guest. She's a friend of mine. Her name is Katie Boyd. And she is an author, she's a demonologist, and she's an occult science expert. And she's written many books. And Katie, I don't have the list of all the books in front of me, but you can tell the viewers what the books are. And Katie Boyd is an icon in the paranormal field, and she's very well respected. And I would like to bring Katie back for a show on demonology because I have a lot of questions on demonology. But tonight, the reason I brought Katie on tonight, my friend Katie, is because I noticed that she wrote a book on werewolves. Oh my God, my favorite subject. Now Katie, everybody, I want to let's all welcome my special guest, Katie Boyd. Thank you, Katie, for joining us.
Well, Noreen, thank you for having me.
Oh my God, you're so welcome. But Katie, I saw on your Facebook page that you wrote a book on werewolves, and I was so surprised to see that. What's that all about?
I did. I actually wrote this book. It's not of my normal genre because everybody knows, I write about, the boogeyman and, demonology things and, my own personal story growing up and things like that. But, werewolves, they're very intriguing. The whole subject is. But as an occultist, I kind of wanted to put a little spin on it, not have your typical, werewolf book. There's so many werewolf books out there. So the hardest thing for me was, how can I make this book a lot different than, having the same information over and over and over? So I was like, well, as an occultist, we learn how to shapeshift, how to use a lot of the old recipes, things like that. And also having the medical background, I figured, you know what, I'm going to blend a little bit of that in there. And of course, your mysteries and myths, things like that, which you have to have. So I just, I kind of put my own little spin on it.
Now, Katie, before we do talk about this book, Werewolves, can you give the viewers information about yourself and how you got involved in demonology?
Sure. Like I tell a lot of people, the foundation of how I became a demonologist was, I was an occultist first. That's my foundation. As an occultist, you figure it's over 25 years now. We have to learn, how to do a lot of the different techniques. You have to study the different religions, different cultures. How do they work with their, spirits, their demons? What tools do you have to use? And you got to learn the different branches, the prayers. There's a lot to it. Now, as a demonologist, a demonologist that's not an occultist, it's not really, I don't know, I kind of like to think I have a little bit more education on it due to the fact that I am an occultist. And you have to remember, the first demonologists and exorcists were occultists. If you look back in, Sumerian texts, things like that, we were, the demonologists, the occultists, things like that. So I kind of have that little niche above, just basically studying, what demons are, things like that. That's why I'm really big on the education. When I tell people that come to me and say, I want to be a demonologist, how do I be a demonologist? I tell them, listen, you've got to build your foundation first. Anybody can pick up a book and read about demons and, different cultures, things like that. So start getting your foundation on the different cultures. That's very important. And as an occultist, we were always tested on different religions, and stuff like that. So, being an occultist kind of gave me that first, the foundation. And then growing up in a severe haunted house, kind of gave me that other insight on the paranormal. And then as I got older, I realized, you know what my family and myself went through, and the knowledge of, being an occultist, having teachers, because as an occultist, you have to have, hands-on teachers. You have to learn how to make your own tools and different degrees, and then different branches of learning. So, I really wanted to try to help other people, like I said, with my personal story and things like that, and got me more involved in the paranormal side of it, which led me, basically, into the medical field and law enforcement, and then where I am today. It's a long story.
And so now, I know that's not your latest book coming out, but Werewolves is one of the books that you did recently, though, write this book. So, but why did you pick werewolves, though?
Well, like I said, I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I was thinking, on my next book project, and I was talking to my editor, and, I didn't want to do vampires, the typical supernatural creature. So I actually said, hey, you know what? I'm interested in doing a werewolf book, but with my own spin, with shape-shifting and blending in, some of the occult, some of the medical, things like that, and they loved the idea.
Now, Katie,
So,
you said shape-shifting. Now, shape-shifting, isn't that an American Indian thing?
No, actually, well, I mean, it is an American native tradition and things that they do. In different cultures, there are different shape-shifting, entities, things like that. But as an occultist, we also learn, how to shape-shift, how to, astral project yourself. I mean, there's a lot to it. But I kind of wanted to do that different flavor.
Oh, okay.
Of the book. Now, writing this book, it could have been a really, really thick book because there's so much to it. I mean, you have so many myths, and, like I said, I wanted to be so different. I didn't want to put the same stories in the book, but, I put some of the famous, different old stories in it, and then, about cannibalism, different things like that, because I kind of like to be a little twisted in that way. But, I really wanted to get across, the myth, the magic side of it, and shape-shifting. And I put, actually, in this particular book, I put the old recipes, which you're on your own if you ever try to use that. I will take no responsibility of that. Like one of the original witch's flying ointment. And of course, like all the, how do you turn into a werewolf?
Yeah.
Things like that. Like, drinking, if you see a wolf's print and, it's it rained, and you can drink from the wolf's print. Those are all myths. Supposedly you could turn into a werewolf. Or there are, which there's only I don't even know how many, probably one or two in the world, but there are these special belts that supposedly, were made out of a wolf skin, and if you wear it, obviously it'll transform you into a werewolf. You take the belt off, and you're back to your human self. I have seen one, but it's definitely, even the occultists have a black market. Everybody has a black market out there, underground market, which would be, I would just love to get my hands on one of those. But
would you put it on? Just to see,
I really would put it on, but I would make sure that, I had like a whole group of people that knew, well, number one, document it. And number two, just make sure that, you have the remedy to get me back.
Yeah. Okay, so there are several ways to become a werewolf, from what I read.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways. I haven't really tried them. You can actually do a cartwheel over, a tree stump and put it in, and supposedly you put a knife in it. And then if you kind of go backwards over the tree stump, when you want to go back into your human self, you cartwheel over it, pull the knife out. But, as a werewolf, I don't know if you can do that. But I have not tried any of those.
Now, isn't there like magic and curses and if you've been bitten by a werewolf, you become one?
Yeah. The old myths, if you're bitten by a werewolf or scratched by a werewolf or to kill a werewolf, you got to use a silver bullet.
Is that true?
I've never personally ran up against a werewolf, and I've never had the silver bullet to shoot him.
In your gathering up of your materials to write this book, was there any documentation on werewolves being shot with a silver bullet?
There wasn't. Well, there wasn't really. No, actually, most of the individuals that were definitely accused of being a werewolf, they were, unfortunately, there was a couple during the, what you call the woman's Holocaust, which was the burning times. They were tortured, they were on the stretcher. Some individuals, their bodies were hacked in pieces, things like that. Yeah.
Now, these cases of werewolves, they go back to the 15th century, right?
Oh yeah, probably even further than that. You have to remember, every tradition has their supernatural creatures. Like there's, in Japan, they even have like spirits, their hungry spirits, things like that. Every tradition has their own myths, their own legends. It's just like the boogeyman. Every culture has one. Certain religion has their own myths, legends, things like that. But I could have written this book for a very long time. There had to be a kind of a cutoff point with the book because you don't want to overwhelm the person with all the information. So I kind of did as much as I could. But then again, with the medical part of it, you have to remember, back then there was, like, say during the witches' time in Salem, supposedly, the rye was bad, and things like that. Well, there was a lot of things going on back then. The food wasn't properly cooked. You had the rabies. People didn't understand what all that was. They saw somebody acting like an animal on their hands and their feet, and hands and legs, and they're foaming at the mouth. Oh my God, the person, is becoming ravenous and biting people. Oh my God, there's a werewolf, and they try to hunt them down, kill the individual. Yeah, there's a lot.
So in your book, then you talk about the myths, the legends, how one did become a werewolf, and then what about the transformation? Then the shape shifting. How do they do that?
Well, you have to remember with a lot of the shape shifting. A lot of it had to do with special ointments, special, like I said, there was a lot of different myths. If you jump over the tree stump, with a knife in it, you're shape-shifting into, a werewolf. But a lot of times it was the different ointments. If you put on different ointments, you could fly. You could, I want to be a cat, I want to be a dog.
Now, is that...
It is psychological, too.
Ointments. How can
ointments.
How can one fly and transform with an ointment?
A lot of times you didn't even go anywhere. Okay?
Oh.
But you have to remember with a lot of these ointments, like say, they were poisonous. in certain doses, like say belladonna, it's very poisonous. So you're putting on this ointment, which is made, the base has like say dog fat in it, and you're smearing it all over your body. It's going to go right into your skin. It's kind of like LSD that you're rubbing into your skin. What's going to happen? You're going to start hallucinating. You're going to think you're flying. You're going to think you're transforming into an animal.
Okay, so that ointment then was really hallucination. It made you got hallucinations from it then. Is that what that was?
Yeah, but a lot of individuals, well, you have to remember too, there were a lot of different diseases, like I said, rabies, things like that, where the individual believed they were an animal or they became very ravenous,
Now, did you talk about at all in your book about supposedly the first werewolf from the 15th century, I believe, was a Peter Stubble?
Oh yes, I wrote about him. Oh, well, obviously you've got to kind of cover some of the famous individuals, that kind of started eating people.
No, but how did he become a werewolf? Oh, I know. I read that. I know. Go ahead. I know how he did that.
Okay.
I read that when he was 12 years old, he started getting into the occult and demonology, and he started practicing. And they even said that he may have sold his soul to the devil.
Oh, geez. Back then, everybody was accused of selling their soul to the devil.
Yeah. And then but the killings, he was killing children and pregnant women, and he was eating them, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, he was eating pieces of them.
Oh, my God.
I did cover, oh, Lord. I mean, I covered so much, in this book. Who else did I mean, I covered so many.
Okay, so I only know of him. Who else was a famous werewolf? So I know, they tortured him, and they mutilated him, right? They mutilated his body.
Yeah. There's pictures and everything where they I think he was the one they put on the wheel.
Yeah.
I covered so much. I mean, it's all in this particular book. Oh, Lord. I mean, I covered everything all the way up to, the modern day kids nowadays even having what they call werewolf packs. But they're not like, they don't like transform themselves into a werewolf. It's not like, Twilight, the movie Twilight. Things like that. But, in the book also, I do want to mention, I mean, I do cover, like the astral shift, where people can literally astral project, and kind of astral project,
You can?
Like into becoming an animal.
You
It's
can?
It's kind of like when you're sitting with, say, your dog or your cat.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's kind of like a meditation. And you start breathing the same. You start feeling the same. And it's like you're starting to be like that animal. I mean, there's so much I did cover, in here, which, I don't know, I mean, I just covered so much, and I kind of, with my books, especially like the werewolf book, I don't tell anybody this is how it is. I want the reader to walk away going, wow, okay, wow, and make up their own mind. Whether, I don't necessarily think there's werewolves as we kind of see in the movies, per se. I mean, there could be,
So there's no record right now of a real werewolf?
Well, no, I mean, there's hundreds of different sightings, just like Bigfoot. But who am I to say, what, I never came across Bigfoot face to face. I never came across, say werewolf, or vampire. I mean, I do know many individuals that live their life as a vampire.
Yeah.
They actually have one mate where they do drink from that individual. They're tested for diseases. You have to know more than one religion to go into their home. They're very wonderful people, but I think it's just been a lot, kind of like with demons. It's kind of been over dramatized, but the thought and the mystery and the myths are really kind of incredible. It's kind of like like today, where I saw this TV show, Mermaids, right?
Oh yeah.
And it was very intriguing. Okay, with these supernatural creatures, unless you really have proof, we can only speculate. And coming from a medical background, I have to be very skeptical. Without fully seeing the proof. But in the paranormal, even if somebody sees the proof, doesn't mean everybody's going to be skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
You photoshopped it, you made it up, whatever the case is. But with that mermaid show, they had like these spears and that were in the fish. Who knows? Who knows? There really, truly could be these supernatural creatures. Why aren't we seeing them a lot? I don't know. Because like the guy said, one of the scientists said on this particular show, about the mermaids is we can't coexist without killing, these strange creatures.
Wow.
And they were even showing, different pictures on, in Egypt that was way back, and it was literally pictures of humans killing these mermaids, these mermaid creatures.
Wow, yeah.
If I was a werewolf or vampire, I wouldn't be showing myself around.
No, I know.
All we do is kill them. So how, you know what I mean? It's kind of like the unicorns. And I'm not really big on the supernatural creature thing. It's not really my forte. But, I really wanted to write this book due to the fact of being an occultist, and kind of putting a little bit more of my occult side out there. Because you have to remember, a lot of people just think of me as a demonologist.
Yeah, I know.
They really don't know, the other side of me. They don't know, that I work on a lot of occult crime cases that have nothing to do with the paranormal. I've worked with, the AOL news reporters several times on occult crime cases. And, being an occultist, it kind of, it's good because I know the different, symbology, things like that. So a lot of people don't know another side of me, which is kind of cool. So when I write these books, I always try to put a little bit more of myself in it, to try to show them, hey, here's a, I don't give all the secrets away because I don't want to be accused of, somebody going off and doing something and then blaming me for it.
Oh dear.
So I don't give a lot of information on how-tos, how-tos out there, because I have been blamed where, individuals have gone into cases, especially like demonic cases, and then saying Katie Boyd said, we need to do it this way when I had nothing to do with it.
Wow. Since I have you, I can't stand it. We've asked many questions about demonology, or talked about demons with many of our guests, and everybody has a different answer about demons, Katie. And I know you are the expert on demonology. So when an investigator goes, and I see postings on Facebook, they're always talking. When an investigator goes in and does an investigation, so many of them think they're dealing with a demon. How do you know? And first of all, obviously you believe in demons. Some people don't believe in them. They just call them a bad spirit. So what is the difference between a bad spirit and a demon?
Well, a lot of people do get negative spirits and demonic entities confused. Now, I'm not saying there's demons out there with the horns and the big tails and things like that. There is a higher negative energy out there, okay? We all know that because everything has positive and negative. But, with negative spirits, say, okay, they can, levitate objects. With a demonic entity, they can teleport an object. With a demonic entity, they stack, say chairs or furniture. They teleport furniture from one room to another room. A negative spirit will throw that particular item at you, or tip a big table across the room. Warning signs, like if you are truly, because I know, everything is a demon, and unfortunately, you're scaring the client when a lot of times, and I've done millions of cases, and unfortunately, a lot of times, it's not even a negative spirit. So it's not a demon, it's not a negative spirit. Everybody has their own theories on these demons. In different cultures. A lot of different cultures call the demons spirits. So, it all depends. What culture is the client? Things like that. Now, warning signs, if you're going to go, especially if you're a paranormal investigator, you're going to do a case. Now, suddenly, you start feeling sick, or like you have the flu. All the other crew members start feeling kind of nauseous, sick, things like that. Most likely it's a negative spirit trying to say, you're not going to go over to the client's house, or you keep driving by the client's house. That's more or less a spirit. With a demonic entity, it's literally going to show you, horrific visions. If you have any type of guilt that you hold inside you, that obviously that negative energy, like a demonic entity, is going to use that against you. Like say, I don't talk a lot about, like my parents, but both my parents are deceased, and I wasn't there for either or, none of both my parents when they passed. And my mom passed of Alzheimer's. It was a very difficult death, and a lot of people don't know that. And I had a lot of guilt because I was very close to my mother. And we were Becca and I were talking about a case one time that I was going to work on, and a particular, demonic entity, which I knew a lot about. I knew it was going to be a tough case, but literally showed me, my mother. And I'm not psychic in any way, so I don't see visions and things like that, or, anything. But did show me, my mom standing there with feeding tubes and stuff coming out of her mouth. And I knew it wasn't my mother, because I had a wonderful relationship with her, but because I had that guilt, because I wasn't there when she passed, they tried to use that against me. And I knew better, obviously, being in the field for so long, that, I said, you're not my mother. And, I literally put my hands around, its neck, and it just went away, kind of went like that.
Oh my God.
With a demonic entity, if you're working on a true demonic case, they will, your car, like with a negative spirit, your car won't start. With a demonic entity, it'll try to crash your car. Like I said, every case is different. Every entity, every negative spirit, good spirit, negative spirit, it's all different. But, and you have to remember, I work with Becca, who was a psychic medium, and we live together. So we have a lot of different things that come in and out of our home,
Oh, God.
But a lot of people do confuse. Like in my Devils and Demonology book, I did write a whole thing about, the difference between a negative spirit, and a lot of the different signs with, versus, a demonic entity, because a lot of people do get that confused. Like I have a lot of psychics that actually write to me, and they're not sure. A lot of individuals, not just some of these psychics, but they feel like the demonic entity is attached to them. And, I mean, every psychic is different anyway, just like every sensitive and every paranormal investigator. But the more you can educate yourself, the more you can talk to people that have been in the field working in these types of cases, it's just more knowledge. Now, being a demonologist wasn't something I chose. I didn't wake up one morning and that's what I want to be when I grow up. I always just wanted to be either a writer or a police officer, But it's a lot of people think having the title is cool, when in fact it's not. Because you have to remember the work that I do, I'm not just a paranormal investigator, I'm not just a demonologist. I'm an occultist, an occult crimes, occult sciences and crimes expert. So I see a lot of depth. I see a lot of psychological issues. I see a lot of, unfortunately, mental, I see a lot of different things where people are claiming that they're possessed, they need an exorcism.
Are these people really possessed?
Some individuals are, I don't want to say possessed by a demonic entity, but a lot of people have spirit attachments. And a lot of times what people don't understand is if you have a spirit attachment, they can kind of put themselves onto the individual. And a lot of times you're kind of like the chameleon, you start getting that influence. For an example, kind of like with the house that I grew up in that was severely, highly negative. My father was a big Scottishman, and he worked for the phone company, never called in sick. Suddenly, he started to become very obsessed with, the colonial times. He was a big hunter, never cared about, colonial times where you're wearing tights or anything like that. And then he started spending more time in the basement. And he started buying old muskets and, the old colonial rifles. Then he started, making these little round pellets, the lead pellets that used to go in the colonial guns. Well, he was being influenced. It was kind of like his spirit oppression. He was stuck in that. He was being kind of overtaken by the negative spirit, But, every case is different. And you have to remember, especially if you're, working in the paranormal, you could automatically think that, like this one time it was a 5-year-old. And, we really thought she was demonically possessed.
Wow.
Come to find out, it was literally a spirit that was attached to her. But because the spirit, the little girl would go into church, she would scream, she would start scratching everybody. It was horrible. And, her mom used to have to drag her out. She would have black and blue eyes and bruises on her body. But come to find out, it was a spirit attached to the little girl. It was a young gentleman, and he had a real big issue with the church. So, yeah, a lot of people do get confused that it could have been a demonic entity. So you have to wear, many hats. You have to be very skeptical. Very skeptical when you're doing this work. And, it's not fun. It's not fun at all.
Wow. Well, I'm just afraid for these people. They go into these investigations and, Katie, they don't know what they're doing. There's so many of these groups that have started out. They think hey, everybody's doing it. Let's get together and form a group. And they go out there and they haven't a clue as to what they're doing. They're crazy.
Noreen, there's zillions of them. Zillions of them. And as long as, I've had a lot, I'm friends with a lot of paranormal groups out there. And, every paranormal group works differently. But, a lot of them have... Oh, hold on. That was me. Hold on, yeah.
Whoops.
Okay, I hit the wrong button. Good Lord. But a lot of paranormal groups have come to me, wanting advice, or hey, I don't know what to do on this particular case. Can you give me some info? Or do you know somebody that could help? So it's good that more and more of these groups are coming to people that are a little more seasoned, per se.
I don't know. Another thing too, when they do EVP work, see, that's another, I'm questioning these EVPs now. How do you know who you're really talking to, Katie? How do you really know?
Well, okay. First of all, with EVPs, all right, a lot of times you should use, obviously the digital, and use analog also, okay? Because if you're questioned, you're going to have that solid analog tape. Okay, so you have to remember, you have to back up everything anyway with your evidence.
But Katie, but honey, I'm not questioning the equipment. I'm questioning who are they communicating with. Let me tell you this is an example, okay? We did an investigation on the USS Hornet.
Okay.
And I had a team member that night with us, and she thought she was communicating with her great-grandfather.
Okay.
Or grandfather, one or the other. But how did she know? Why? He had nothing to do with the Hornet. Why would he communicate with her on the Hornet?
Well, you have to remember, okay, if it's a spirit's chance, it's kind of like, going to see a psychic medium, okay? If you're not a psychic, if this is the spirit's chance to actually say something. Was she having a hard time in her personal life? Did she need to hear from the grandfather? Maybe the grandfather had something he needed to say to her. And this was his chance. Hey, listen, you know what I mean? She's doing an EVP session. This is probably the only chance I'm ever going to have, to talk to her. I got to say what I got to say. One of the things is, I have caught, obviously, zillion EVPs. Now, one of the differences, if you're working with a demonic case, a lot of times the demonic entity will kind of have like a clicking noise. It's kind of like, like the little dog training devices where you kind of click them? Yes. It's kind of like that. And you can literally hear them talking to each other. It's like a clicking.
Yes.
Now, one of the cases that was highly, highly demonic that I worked on, I got all kinds of conversation with the clicking. Now, there was nothing there. It was myself, it was Becca, and it was the client and the client's sister. That was it. There was no noise going on around us. We were sitting at the kitchen table. Well, literally, you could hear something like underneath the table having a conversation.
Oh, my God.
Oh, no, it gets better than Norene.
Oh, my God.
This woman, she was very obsessed with the Ouija board. I mean, she started to, literally, she wouldn't go to sleep. Her kids had to watch her. I mean, 23 years, she became obsessed. She'd write the Ouija board on anything she possibly could find. And she started to become very obsessed with Jesus. I love God, Jesus loves me, I want to marry Jesus, it's all about Jesus. Which, that's great, okay, cool, you love Jesus. But one of the conversations, and everything was recorded on analog, okay, so I have this tape. So if anybody ever wants to hear it, I have the solid tape. You can't mess with that. But literally when she was talking to me about God and about, I know where God comes from. Where does he come from? That's what I asked. Well, where does he come from? And she goes, he comes from dust. And I'm like, dust? okay, and then I continued on my, interview. Well, when I was reviewing the evidence, you could hear her, what she's telling me, and then you literally you can literally hear like angelic horns going, toot, literally, and getting louder and louder and louder. Now, a lot of times with a true demonic entity, that is kind of their entrance, especially if it's more dominant type of demonic entity. And I have this, going through when she's talking certain things about God, you will hear that, the angelic horns. Now, if you heard it and you're religious or a Catholic, you would think it's angels. But it's not, because there's a lot of other evidence that, with the demonic entities on it. Now, that was a tough case. That was a real tough case. We were there for a very, very long time. But the woman, the only thing that kept her from being possessed 100%, because she started getting the psychic ability, incredible psychic ability. She told her sister before Becca and I came, I don't want the witches to come. Now, this woman didn't even know anything about us.
Wow.
She didn't know who we were, anything at all. But that's kind of another sign. Suddenly, the victim that's been so in a state of oppression, but she held on to her faith. And because she, adored Jesus so much, she wasn't 100% possessed, But, look at nowadays. You see all these movies out there.
Yeah.
What did I just watch? Oh, Lord. I had to roll my eyes.
The Right?
No. Oh, Lord.
Is that bad?
The Devil Within. Right when I'm getting into it, like, all right, I can see some of this. I've, kind of seen a little bit of this in some cases. And then the movie ends. I'm like, huh? It's not even worth it. Don't even watch it. But yeah, it didn't. Whatever.
So you must get really frustrated when you see these movies, Katie.
You know what? I think well, you have to remember what's the end thing, or what's going to be the end thing. For a while there, obviously everything was a demonic entity, so everybody was, demonic, all the movies, demons, exorcisms. The next thing, who knows what it could be? Supernatural creatures, UFOs, psychics, I'm not sure. Before then, before demons, it was what? Spirits, psychics, whatever the end thing is, but, everything is demonic right now. Plus, you get the end of the world thing coming up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the aliens are coming to get us, and the Illuminati, and all of that. And we've had plenty of shows on that, and more to come. More to come on that, because I'm not too sure myself.
I don't think, I think I don't think the world is ending as we know it. I think 2012 is just a little more of awareness, per se. We're going to be a little more, I don't know, I don't want to use the word psychic.
Yeah, but okay, Katie, okay, why are they thinking, okay, so that I've heard that more of us are going to become more psychic. We're going to start seeing spirits. We're going to start hearing them more than we did before. Why is that?
Well, you have to remember, I think nowadays we have, you got to think a lot of the TV shows. People are becoming more open-minded. People are reaching out more to paranormal groups. We're not as close-minded. Yes, a lot of us are still skeptical because, every single case is, people are claiming to be demons, but, we're just seeing a lot more proof, a lot more evidence of spirits. But I think it's more of a conscience type of awareness.
Hey, Katie, I want to ask you another question. Because I've seen on Facebook, that's how I get a lot of information, because Facebook is so huge, where people have asked for a paranormal group to come in and do an investigation and find out what's going on in their home. And of course, I would say a lot of these groups are not qualified to be doing such a thing. Why doesn't the community get together and form a union or some kind of an organization and make it legit, where these people have a list of groups to go to that are qualified and have had training to go into these homes to do an investigation and help these people, rather than these fly-by-night groups. They come in, all they want is the thrill of it and to get their EVPs, and then they never even get back to the people because they're not qualified to handle anything.
Oh God, Noreen, you sound like me. Move over and I'll get on that soapbox. Listen, Noreen, listen. I've even had paranormal groups call me. Okay. Now, Beck and I are willing to help anybody. You know that.
Oh, I know.
You know.
You were the. Oh God, you were for us. You were a. What were you? Oh God, you were. Come on, Katie. What were you for PZTV? Paranormal Zone. We had you as a consultant.
A consultant.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? And I love helping. You know, I mean, I get so many. I get hundreds and hundreds of emails and things, and people get all twisted when I can't write back in a timely manner or you know, answer everybody. You know, but I've had paranormal groups call my home, my personal home. They would go on those websites, you know, where a lot of different people are listed, things like that. And my paranormal group was listed, and it was my home phone that one of the crew members at the time put everything up, and they were telling me how wonderful they are, and you know, they're not even a year old, but you know, they're wonderful. Everything about them, and I am known. I can be a prick, and everybody knows that. And I said, do you know whose house you're calling? You know, and they're like, well, is this Ghost Quest, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I think you need to Google me, honey, okay? Because you're calling my home. And I can tell you, you know, oh, he was insistent something, it was a demon, and it was just on and on. And I was like, no, it was not. And then he friended me on Facebook the next day. You know, but I mean, Noreen, I preach this all the time.
But but why doesn't anybody do anything about it? You know, I mean, there's John Zappis out there. There's so many and so many higher up people. Why can't they put their resources together and start forming an organization?
Well, okay, here's the deal, Noreen. Okay, listen.
Okay.
Okay. Here's my version of the real deal. Now, I'm one of those individuals, okay? You know, I was called in to be on the haunted as an occultant consultant for a certain entity. I love educating. That's the only reason why I went on. I wanted to talk about a certain entity. That was what the producers called me, not the group. I had nothing to do with the case. I went down, traveled all the way through Boston, and everybody knows I will not drive through Boston. Well, I did. I almost killed myself and Becca. Oh yeah.
Oh God.
But you know, so I did my little thing. This is a certain entity. Blah blah blah. Well, I got all these emails when the episode aired. And why didn't I help the client and all this other things? Now, if you have no idea, I argued with the producer they wouldn't tell me any of the information. So I can't give you the proper information unless you're telling me what the case is all about. Because I need to give you the proper information about this entity. Well, I had to do the best I could do, you know what I mean, with no information on a particular case. But that's TV, you know, they edit it and all this other stuff. But I got all these emails. Why didn't I help the client? All this other stuff. And then I wrote each and every person back and said, I had nothing to do with the case. I was only called in I was only called in by the producer. There you go. Ever since then, I've turned every show down.
Really?
I will not, I've been offered by History Channel. I've been offered by the producers of Paranormal State, to do my own demonology show. But, if it was an educational show, I would love to do it. And give people, I don't know everything myself, but at least I would give a lot of the proper information. But with me, I will not put my clients out there. You know what I mean? I'm not going to make money off my clients, personal pain and what they went through. So, I turn everybody down. I won't. I write my books and I'll give the proper information, my stories, things like that out there. No.
Now, Katie, do you, with these other paranormal groups that are out there, and if somebody came to you, I say in California, because that's all, or some other state that you're not involved in, and somebody came to you and said, oh God, I really need help. Can you refer? Do you have a referral program?
Oh yeah, there's a lot. You got to network. That's huge. I preach that all the time. You have to network. Start networking with, doctors, psychiatrists, counselors. I mean, everything. Think outside the box. Different clergy of different religions. I mean, different paranormal groups. If I don't know or I can't personally be, fly out to somewhere, a different state, I'll be like, okay, who do I know in this particular state? Put it out on Facebook. Do some research. Who do I know? I know somebody, out there.
But Katie, what I'm saying is, do you have, like, in writing, a list of groups that you can honestly say they've been trained, they know what they're doing, and they're legit?
Well, like I said, I network with a lot of groups out there, and there's a lot of really good groups. If I don't know a group in a certain state, I'll ask somebody else, hey, do you know somebody, another paranormal group that I trust? Do you know anybody in this particular state? You know what I mean? You kind of have to network and ask around, or I'll have to handle the case. I'll have to tell the client, listen, I can do what I can from here because I don't know anybody in this particular state. You gotta research. Clients, there's so many paranormal websites out there, so many groups now,
yes.
Like you're saying.
Oh my God.
People, here's the deal though, people don't know. They look, say, like I'm in Manchester, New Hampshire. Okay, at one point there were like 32 groups. Now, I don't know, is it just us? It could be, I'm not sure anymore. Because people just fade out, they lose interest, and it's not cool anymore. But do your research, but clients don't understand that. And that's why, with this newest book, this paranormal book, that's going to be coming out pretty soon, I try to kind of go through the layers and say, listen, to the public, this is how it really is. Everybody knows, we know as paranormal individuals, you got to research. You got to research the people. You got to research the groups. Unfortunately, look what's going on. Nowadays, you got frauds in every different type of field. Mm-hmm. Everybody's a demonologist, and, nobody, has had a real teacher. People are certifying people in all kinds of areas of paranormal when there's no such thing. Oh. There's no such thing.
Oh, these stupid classes that they have. What is it?
You can take classes, okay, but take them for yourself. Just because you get a completion, which it should be just a completion form.
But Katie, honey, even the people that are doing the classes,
right?
Who says that they're qualified to do these paranormal 101 classes?
I think I know, but there's no kind of like, you know, Lori Cabot, okay? She's the official witch of Salem. You know, I interviewed her for my Witches and Witchcraft book. I actually sat down with her. Beautiful lady. She's like 80 years old. Beautiful, beautiful lady. Now, she literally was asked by a college to teach, you know, certain levels of witchcraft at this college, at Salem University. And, you know, that's legit. Do you see what I'm saying? You get credit for those classes. Just like parapsychology. There are classes now, and there are credits.
Well, sure, like Lloyd Arrowback.
Absolutely. You know, but say, you know, paranormal investigation.
But Katie, do you know how many people are doing this Paranormal Academy? Ever since the Academy came out on the Ghost Hunters Academy, oh, then they all started doing this Paranormal 101. Come on, give me a break, you know?
Yeah. You know, people love the Ghost Hunting 101. You know, do it to educate the public, or, you know, do tours and kind of interact with the guests. You know, show them your equipment, how to use it. You know, that kind of, you know, fundraising thing. Because paranormal does not pay. You know, that type of thing. But there's no such thing as certification. I don't care who you are. There is no such thing as, you know, ghost hunting certification. Until there is a legit paranormal school that's giving out degrees or giving out, you know, I mean, there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? If you want to form a real school, okay, and get that, you know, you got to go through the state. I mean, there's a lot of different things. I mean, I've talked to Becca about maybe we should do a real school. Let's have a bunch of people so we can start, you know, really looking into this.
I think that's a great idea, Katie.
It is great. I mean, unfortunately, you know, it's a lot of money out of your own pocket. I mean, people want to get paid. You've got to have teachers.
What if you did it online, like Lloyd Arrowback? Because, see, you are a credible person. You are respected in the paranormal community, and you are well known. And you would be one that could pull off these classes online.
I know. Everybody tells me I should do classes, things like that. I know. Yeah, I know.
Don't hesitate. Now, come on.
You know, I know a lot of people have told me to do classes, do things like that. You know what it is? I think I get so frustrated because there are so many. Every day there's more and more people. I'm a demonologist.
Oh,
and I'm like,
God.
You know, I know, but sometimes you have to remember, Noreen, I have seen a lot of things, okay? I am 41 years old. I have been around. And a lot, I mean, come on, you know. In the paranormal, you get burnt out. You get very frustrated. You wonder, why am I doing what I'm doing when nobody's listening? When people are out there, you know, claiming to be a demonologist, okay?
But Katie, when they claim to be Katie, when these people claim to be a demonologist, why doesn't anybody ever question them? They just let it go.
Oh, Noreen, I'm going to get on my soapbox.
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
Okay. Now, I put something out a while back, something about, you know, I'm sick and tired of people claiming to be this, blah, 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 right? You know, that little spiel?
Yeah.
Nowadays, I just put quotes out. Read between the lines. That's how I'm feeling that day. But, I don't know, somebody questioned me, or, what's your qualifications, you know, and that's good. I'm glad you did. That's good. And I did the whole spiel, you know, this is who I am. I can show you, you know, I can show you my, you know, law enforcement badge, whatever you want to see. I got it all, you know, because only your word is good. If you can't back up anything, you poop. You know what I mean? You got to be able to back up your education and what's going on with you. So then I did, and you notice the individual kind of changes its tune, you know, like, oh, oh, okay, you are legit. You know, and then I had a woman who wrote, you know, I wasn't sure, Katie. You know, I wasn't sure about you. You know, because you have to remember, I was one of the only known public female demonologists out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to remember, a lot of individuals think that my techniques are, you know, like, oh my God, this girl is like an occultist too. You know, it's nothing new. I'm actually bringing old ways back into the light. I'm bringing how it used to be back, you know, to nowadays, kind of speed it up to 2012. You know, I mean, you know, Noreen, I have been bashed. My skin is so thick, you know, but you have to be. You can't worry about what people are thinking about you anymore because you got to be out there helping the clients and educating. But this woman said, I'm not sure about you. And then I started, you know, researching you. And then I started seeing more and more, you know, oh, wow, you are legit. Oh, wow, you know, you were on, you know, AOL and MTV News. You know, I mean, they interviewed you. And this one interviewed you, and you were working on crimes. You know, you are real. You know, but it is sad because, you know, I'm out there and it gets frustrated as somebody who's been in the field for so long, and I'm sure a lot of individuals out there are very frustrated also, when you have more and more of these people that just say, you know what, being called a demonologist is cool, and I'm going to go in and, you know, take care of these demons, when in fact, you know, the individual has, you know, severe case of, you know, schizophrenia, or severe case of bipolar, or they've been sexually molested since they were 2 years old, and or they have multiple personalities.
Right. And that probably doesn't even come into their mind to interview the family that they're going, whose home they're going into. It's very important they interview these people, find out the background. And you just can't go one time. You can't go one time. You need to go over and over and over, and because you're going to pick up different evidence. You just can't go to a person's house one time and say, oh yeah, we got this, this, and this. That's not how it works.
Oh Lord, I get these emails, and it's okay. It's okay. I get these emails where individuals are like, hey, well, I contacted so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, you know, like I'm on the bottom of the list. And I'm like, well, I suppose at least I'm on the list. But it's kind of a joke now, you know, in my family here, that, you know, I'm the cleanup girl. When the poop hits the fan and everybody, you know, who claims they know what to do or they can fix it, you know, they can't even fix it, I'm cleaning up their messes, you know, and I don't mention names. But, you know, I've cleaned up everybody you can think of. I've cleaned up their effing cases.
Oh, my
God. Oh, yeah. And I'm like...
But, Katie, don't you think it's time that these groups should be exposed?
You know... But then, you know what? It's going to be like that witch. You know, everybody's going to be pointing fingers at everybody. And everybody, you know... I think it would open up a can of worms. I think it's good to educate. This person is frauding. You know, but, you know, Noreen, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
You know, one time, I mean, you know Becca BOYD.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay. Now, you know, Becca's been tested a zillion different times, okay? She is a fabulous psychic medium, and I'm not just saying that, okay? Ask anybody. Now, one day, you know, somebody friended her on Facebook, right? Because they saw how many, you know, the different people she knows, people she talks to. And, you know, Becca, she would never hurt a fly.
Oh, I know.
Right?
Yes.
Well, all of a sudden, she was on somebody's website, okay? And it was her picture there, too. Now, her status one day was, you know, she's always busy with readings and doing all kinds of stuff. And he copied her status and then put a picture of her there with other individuals that were on TV, things like that, other psychics. And, you know, Becca's like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? I never did anything wrong to anybody. But unfortunately, you get caught up in, she was used as a target. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And getting bashed. And the best thing you can do to call people out is, like I said, put it on your Facebook wall and then let people see what's going on, what somebody is doing to you, and let everybody comment. And then you started seeing this individual going on and on and on and saying, hey, bring the conversation to my website, okay? Then that had nothing to do with it. The individual wanted more hits to their website. They saw people she knew. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then we had a good friend of ours who called us and said, take it down now. Take it all down off your website and don't give that individual any more attention. Okay? And she did. She took it down, and that was it.
Wow.
I mean, Noreen, you Google me, I've been bashed a zillion times. Everybody knows that. But
I didn't know it.
If I affected somebody's life in a positive way with some information, then I did my job. Listen, I mean, everybody would be out there, though, on, let's say, Facebook and calling people out to the table. It's hard with individuals that don't have certifications or, degrees. I mean, everybody's going to be calling everybody frauds. I don't know, it's a catch-22. If you personally, recently there was a big thing going on, somebody, when people are stealing from charities and things like that. Yeah, you drag that name right out there, absolutely. You're stealing from charities. You're doing a charity and then taking all the money. Damn right.
Yeah.
I mean, Becca and I do charities all the time, and that girl, she'll sit for hours doing free readings, really cheap or, at a low cost, and giving all the money to that particular charity, never taking any of it.
That's fabulous. Yeah, that's awesome.
But that's what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, Noreen, how I've kind of preached so much about it, but I just feel like, unfortunately, a lot of people just aren't listening anymore. People practice, they preach about the paranormal unity.
Oh, God, spare me with the paranormal unity.
I love everybody in the paranormal unity and all this, and I'm all for it. But they're the same people that'll turn around and bash you.
Exactly. I can't stand when I see, I'm all for paranormal unity. I can't stand that phrase.
That's why, Noreen, you know what? If I got stuff to say, I'll either just say it out there or, I kind of just do a quote or put a little picture or something out, or I'll write a book and tell you how I feel. And then you can bash me after that. I don't know. I kind of, I mind my own business. I'm there to help people in any way I can. I'm so used to being bashed that, go for it. I don't really care. I don't care.
Oh, Katie, the people that bash you are ignorant, honey. They're ignorant.
I know, but it's even people that I used to, be close to, and I mean, everybody's out for.
It's jealousy. Obviously, it's jealousy. So many people want to be on TV. They want to be well known, and it's really awful. That's what it's come to.
And it's so funny because I'm the opposite. I keep turning everybody down. I don't want to be on TV. I did it. No, not my thing. I love working with AOL, working on the occult crime cases because it's totally different. I love that.
Oh, you're working on crime cases? You didn't tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me.
Oh, God, yeah, I've been in AOL News several times working on different occult crime cases, yeah.
Oh, can you tell me about some of them?
It kind of like, without giving too much away, but children's bones disappearing out of, certain graves, different artifacts that are left. Some occult crime cases can be from animals being horribly.
Oh, don't tell me, I can't handle that.
Yeah, no,
that I can't handle.
Yeah, those cases are really tough. All the way from babies to adults, murder scenes with certain symbols carved in them, or
oh my God! So how do you help the police, Katie? What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
It depends. Law enforcement will call me in, or like AOL News, different news reporters and things like that will call me in. It depends on the case. I can go in. The body or animals, children, babies, are in different positions. Things are missing from them. They're pigs' heads, or jars of blood, or certain things carved in them. Skins,
oh my God.
Intestines.
Oh my God. Oh
yeah. There's a lot of different things, but I have law enforcement background and things like that, so I kind of love doing that because it's a little different. It's not paranormal at all. And you kind of profile the individual. Okay, you know what? This is not, Satanists. Because I know many different types of people in different religions, different, like Satanists, all the way to, voodoo individuals, to Wiccans, to witches, whatever the case is. And, there was several different cases where I had to kind of say, listen, you got to stop blaming the Satanists, because this is not a Satanist. This is a individual from this particular, age to this age. And I can tell you with how the certain animal was mutilated, they're blending this particular occult with this particular religion, and kind of, taking a little bit of this and.
So, Katie, do you think that the crimes that they're asking you to come on have to do with the occult and Satanism?
Well, you have to remember when, animals are mutilated, or, somebody has something carved in them, what do we as society go right to? Satanists.
Yeah.
When unfortunately what people don't understand is true Satanists actually worship themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they feel they're the god, and they actually use like the icon of Satan, kind of as that focal power point. Kind of like when Wiccans or witches raise the cone of power. It's a focal kind of point. But, I had to clear up a couple of things and say, no. It's actually, there was one case where I can't really say a lot, but it was a different type of religious cult, particular branch. Nothing to do with Satanism or witches, but it was a very, this particular type of group would, they would do things to your family, to your animals, if.
Oh my God.
If they do. One time on one of the cases, one of the AOL News reporters was so scared that, there was a lot that couldn't be put in that particular article or the interview due to the fact he was afraid for his family, because he lived in that same town. So, I mean, it's like certain areas of the mob, you have to be very, very careful, because if you're getting closer, things are going to happen. But, knock on wood, I've been very fortunate. You come to my house, are you kidding? I used to work at a state prison. Go for it. I'll kill you. That's with my family. But, so, I mean, those are very interesting. Sometimes very, you have to kind of have no feelings and kind of be, you become very numb. But Those are really cool. I kind of like those cases.
Wow, that really sounds fabulous. Yeah, if I had your talent, I would love to do that as well. That's awesome, Katie. Now, what did you want to talk about anything else, honey?
Oh no, go for
Oh,
it.
okay. Now, what about this book that's coming out shortly? You're writing another book, but you wanted.
I am writing another one. What can I say about that particular one? The one I'm working on now is, it's kind of like a doomsday book, but not like your doomsday. I'm a huge doomsday prepper, so it's kind of along those lines. But that's kind of what I'll say about that book.
Like, are you telling people how to prepare in case it is the end?
Well, not the end. It's not the end. But like they have TV shows about it, things like that. I'm a prepper. Where you have to kind of, you stockpile a little bit more on food, on different, medicines. How do you make a gas mask without buying a gas mask? How do you make it with charcoal? Or
really?
Different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
What happens, hurricanes, tornadoes, what if it's a nuclear fallout? What if the economy collapses? What do you do about your animals?
Oh, yeah.
In different scenarios, people, always forget about their animals. For me, we have 2 cats that are still remaining, that are alive, and we actually started training them on harnesses. Because if something ever happens, what happens when you have cats? They hide.
Yes.
So, we have them trained now on harnesses, so if something happens, we just pick them up and take them to go, But that's the book that I have a contract for.
Hey, Katie, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I have a cat. I've had her since she was a baby. And occasionally, something is scaring the hell out of her. And she gets so scared that she hides. She'll hide under the bed. She'll hide in between curtains. And now this recent incident with her is she's hiding. That's, but the thing is, this time she's shivering. I mean, she is actually shaking. And I don't know what's causing that, except I know I have ghosts in my house, and I know there are 2 children here. And I don't know if these ghosts are causing her to be afraid, or they're doing something to her.
Have you ever done an EVP session?
Oh, honey, I get EVPs all the time in my house. Even during the show, I'll play the shows back.
Have you ever asked them a question? Hey, who is scaring my kitty? Why are you scaring my kitty? Can you please, I don't mind if you're here, but please don't, stop scaring my kitty.
Okay, Katie, right now, since we're live, and when I play my my shows back, I always get EVPs. And I get some pretty weird ones. And sometimes they'll say things even before I say something.
Yep.
Okay, so let's do an EVP session really fast on video, and I'm going to play it back and see if we get a response. So okay. you go ahead and ask the questions.
Can you please tell us who is the spirit at Norene's house that is bothering the kitty? If you can tell us your name, please, that would be awesome. Let me think here. Why are you bothering Norene's cat? Can you please let us know? Because Norene doesn't mind if you're hanging out and you stay here at her house, but do you think it's okay if you don't bother the kitty? There you go. Okay. Spontaneous.
All right, I'll play the video back when I edit the show and see if I get any response. I'll let you know.
Hey, you never know. But, it's better when known, spirits do not like me. They say, I don't like Katie, and leave the room. Oh, I can't tell you how many times ghost box sessions. Oh, Lord. You know, we did tours where we did ghost box sessions, and the spirit was like, Katie's got to leave the room.
No, no.
Oh, yeah. That's, and, you know, I'm not surprised you know, like you were saying, you get a lot of different EVPs when you do your shows and things like that, because I found getting the best EVPs is when you're having a normal conversation. You know, instead of sitting there, you know, kind of like what I did, hey, you know, anybody here, that type of thing. But by just talking, we get the best EVPs. And it's not somebody, you know, it's not like us whispering or anything like that. You can literally hear a spirit talking over you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, which is really cool. You know, versus, like I said, kind of sitting there going, hey, hello, you know.
Oh, I know. I know. I can't tell you how many EVPs. And a lot of them are a lot of whispers, so I don't post them because I can't make out what they're saying. But in 1 hour, we'll get maybe 12 whispers on during the show. But I don't post them because I can't make out what they're saying. And I don't put all this equipment out to try and figure out. You know, if I hear something with my own ears, those are the ones I post.
The ones that are really clear, you know, kind of like we never filter our EVPs. You know, I mean, some groups have sent us you know, like me or Becca EVPs to help them on cases, and they're so filtered. And I'm like, if you have to filter your EVPs, I can't. I have to.
I want to hear. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
No, raw. You gotta just have the raw.
Exactly.
And if it's really clear, absolutely. You know.
I totally agree, Katie. Totally agree.
But spirits don't like it. Just like with the paranormal equipment, no matter what it is, spirits they don't like me. And you know, somebody did tell me, you know, it's because of the aura, kind of because I have that, you know, like law enforcement authoritative type.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
Intimidates. Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, when I meet some people, they're kind of intimidated or they're not sure about, oh my God, you know, does she like me? Am I okay? You know, that type of thing. When I'm a very easygoing person, unless you piss me off, then I'm a dick. But, you know, who isn't, I guess. That's true. At least I'm a very honest person, so I don't mind.
I love you, Katie. Katie, I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight. I'm so thrilled that you were on my show tonight. I just love having you, and I will have you back because there's some other things I want to talk to you about.
Anytime. I know we were jumping kind of back and forth.
Oh, no, I love that. Oh, I love talking to you. You're so knowledgeable, and there's so many subjects that I can talk to you about.
Oh, God, yeah. There's a lot, Noreen. We need to talk more.
Well, I'm going to have you on the show again.
Absolutely.
And Katie, would you give everybody, tell them where they can get your books? And now you've got quite a few books, and some are on the bestseller.
I do. You can pretty much get all my books at Barnes & Noble's, pretty much any bookstore. Online, you can go to shipperbooks.com, go right to my website, katieboyd.net. I do have a list of my books there, right through the publisher. But yeah, I got about eight or nine books out there now.
Oh,
so,
you're a busy lady.
I am a busy girl.
And what about your website?
It's katieboyd.net.
That's it, katieboyd.net.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Well, Katie, I want to thank you so much. It was just a pleasure.
And, thank you, Noreen.
And say goodnight to Becca for me as well.
Absolutely.
And viewers, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show and our special guest, Katie Boyd. And thank you, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Good night, Katie.
Good night.